Hello and welcome to this week's Boardroom Buddies podcast. And this week we are talking all things events, whether that is your next business event or on a personal level, maybe a birthday or even a wedding. And I'm delighted to be joined by Rachael Wood of PolyWood Studios. Don't you love that name? I love it. Doesn't it stick in your head as well? So that is obviously going to be my first question. So welcome, Rachael. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
So go on then. PolyWood, how did that happen?
Yeah, so it's a complex one. So about 10 years ago, I decided to start PolyWood, and I was thinking about a name, and I thought, well, I want to build props for ideally film. So there's that Hollywood element of it, and I build props from polystyrene and wood mostly, and of course my surname is Wood as well. So I thought, oh, PolyWood, that sounds quite cool. And then I added studios onto the end, and that's plural instead of studio, because we do lots of different things, and it just felt more fitting that we've kind of technically got multiple studios in what we do. And it does tend to stick in people's minds. I mean, I fall in and out of love with it all the time. I'm like, oh, maybe I could have gone with something a bit cooler, but it does really stick in people's heads. So
Yeah. And it sounds exciting as well. I mean, because
yeah.
there's always a buzz around events, isn't there? Whether it's, a tiny little networking, get together to a massive awards or something like that. I guess you do like props for all of that sort of thing as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's funny you say that it's exciting, because I've had several clients that really want to come to the studio, and I'm like, it's not really fit for that purpose at the moment, but we're moving to a bigger one. So I would love for people to come and see and maybe have a little hand, give me help painting things and just get a little bit involved. I'd love
Yeah.
to do classes in the future showing people how to make props.
Oh,
That would
wow.
be really fun.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah. I suppose people could do a workshop and have a hand in the prop
Yeah.
doing.
Like polystyrene cutting is a great one, because you have a template, so they can create their own template, and then you cut it using a hot wire, and it's such a satisfying task. And then you can paint it. So yeah, I'd love to do something like that in the future, but at the moment, our studio is so small.
Yeah.
And luckily we don't tend to have projects on top of each other, because sometimes that can be really challenging
Yeah.
if we've got more than one thing going on at once. But we always make it work. We always have.
I guess you need quite an amount of space to do
Yeah.
things.
So this is the thing. I mean, at the moment, we do mostly really highly bespoke props. So, for example, we created like a giant $100 bill for a well-known brand for their photo shoot, which was so much fun to make. But we sold that to them. Whereas in the future, we'd love to do like a hire system, so people can just rent the props they need. But you need a huge space for that. You need a warehouse. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So what happens to the props then at the end when, at the end of an event? Do you kind of recycle them, bring them back to base and that kind of thing?
Absolutely, yeah. So it's really important to me that we're as sustainable as possible. Where we can, we actually use like old materials. So
Okay.
anything that comes wrapped in polystyrene, I'll use that polystyrene for other projects. So if you get a
Wow.
fridge delivered and it's got big sheets of polystyrene, I'm like, that's mine. I'm keeping that. I reuse ribbon and all these different things. And I work really hard to make sure that we're not buying new material unless we absolutely need it. And I always really work closely with the clients as well to find out what's happening with the props afterwards. So if they don't need it after the event, we kind of give them a reduced price so that they're basically renting it. And then we'll either rent it out again or we'll break it apart for other projects. So yeah, that is really important to me. And I think there's so much waste in the event industry.
Yes.
I find it painful. Like balloons, particularly, I don't tend to do much balloon work, because I always use biodegradable balloons, but the waste is just phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I can see. I've not thought about it before, to be fair, but I could see there must be a lot of weight. I mean, I recently went to Gardeners World Live, and that's massive. Um,
Yeah.
about it, then there must have been quite a lot of stuff
But
that it was
Well,
left.
this is it. It just goes to waste, especially in an area like Birmingham where it's less common to have prop makers. They don't know what to do with it after the event, so it
Yeah.
ends up going into landfill, which is just a tragic waste. Really, it's a waste of like someone's hard work to create the prop in the first place, and then the materials just going into landfill is just horrendous. I mean,
Yeah.
just going back to the balloon thing, helium is a finite resource. We're actually running out of helium.
Right, yeah.
So it's hard to get hold of now, and it's more expensive than ever. So I'm looking, when we move to our bigger studio, I'm going to look at alternatives to balloons, because you see them all the time, these
Mm,
gorgeous balloon arrangements,
yeah.
but that at the end of the event they get popped and they go in the bin, plastic just straight into the bin. So I want to look at alternatives for future events where people want to hire it, as an alternative to balloon garlands.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, interesting. So you do the kind of, I suppose, structural type of props. Do you do things like, I don't know, table decorations and those kinds of things?
Yeah. So I do like, so when my friends get married, my gift to them, I'm like, just tell me what you want for your wedding and I will do it for you. So I've done like big table plans. I did one recently. It was like a superhero theme, but really elegant, which you don't kind
No,
of put
no.
together normally, but it looked stunning. So we had all the emblems for the major superheroes, but it was in white against wood, like a really rustic wood, and it really did look stunning. She was really happy with how it turned out. I was really happy with it as
Mm,
well. And I think that's what I love most about it, is that we're not an off the shelf product. We
yeah.
work really closely with our clients to pin down what it is that's special to them,
Mm,
especially for weddings. So I like to tie things into the bigger themes. So I like to look at their invitation, see if there's a font I can pull from it, or a design element, or maybe it's something in their life. So I'm sure she won't mind me sharing this. My friend, who's getting married, her mum passed away a few years ago, and she was an artist, and she made this beautiful pattern that they used on their invitation.
mm,
So I made that on a box for her, put the pattern on it, because it's those things that
yeah.
are unique to people and special, and make it not just
Mm,
something you bought online. It's something that was purpose made for you, and that's what I love. That gets me going.
yeah. 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 So you talk about design then. So is that your background?
Yeah, so I've had a really varied background. So I went to college to study prop design, and window display. And then I had a job at John Lewis doing window displays and didn't enjoy it, because at college I got to design, build, and install.
Right.
Whereas in the real world, you tend to only get one of those three. So you'll be in an office designing, in a manufacturer's making, or in the windows putting in somebody else's design, and I didn't enjoy that. So when I moved back from, I was living in Watford at the time, when I moved back to Birmingham, I thought to myself, do you know what? I really want to do all three of those elements. So I'm just going to start making things for friends and family, and we'll see where it goes.
Right.
And my aunt, who she is an amazing inspirational businesswoman.
Hmm.
Like she's
She is.
killed it in her workspace. So she really gave me the confidence. She was like, really believe that you can do this. And she got me into networking events, and then it kind of spiraled from there. So yeah, sorry, just going backwards a little
Yeah.
bit. So then I started doing that, and I kind of had it as a little side hustle that I'd do every now and again while I was working in an office, and I was doing website design in the
Okay.
office.
Yes.
So it kind of blended really well together, because now I'm rubbish at drawing, and it used to really frustrate me at college because they'd want you to draw the designs and I could never do it. I was like, I just need to do it, and then you'll see what's in my head. And I didn't realize the missing link was the computer element. So being able to design digitally, I can do that really fast and I know what I want to make. So learning that at the office I was at was perfect, because now I can design something really quickly for someone and say, right, this is what I've got in my head. Does that match with what
Mm.
you've got in your head? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. So you don't just do weddings, obviously. You do a lot of business events, those kinds of things.
Yeah, so it's photo shoots is one of the bigger ones. So for if you're looking for something really bespoke, it's hard to find in Birmingham, and there's a lot more creative enterprise coming to Brum now. So, photographers and studios are looking for places they can get these really weird props from. You can buy stuff online, but it might not be exactly what you need. You might need it a different color. You might want it branded. You might want something totally off the wall. You can't find someone to do it. So we pride ourselves in being the people that say, yeah, we can make that for you, no matter how outrageous.
Weird.
Yeah, exactly. The weirder the better for me. I love a good challenge as
Love
well.
weird.
It can be hard, because a lot of the time we've never made the prop before. There's always the theory behind it. So if it's a wooden based product, we've worked with that before, but everything is really unique and things can go wrong and we have to plan against that.
Nice.
And it can be tough when we had something go wrong recently and we had to basically rebuild the entire prop in completely different materials. But we did it, we pulled all-nighters for a few nights and we got there. But we love it as well. You don't mind working till 2 o'clock in the morning when you're enjoying what you're doing.
True, true. It's not like,
I wouldn't want to make a habit of it, but as long as the client's happy at the end of the day, that I'm happy.
yeah. So businesses might have, I can understand how like a photographer or filmmakers and that might have props, but businesses might want something for a conference or
Yeah. Absolutely. So it might be a conference or it might be their Christmas party or their summer party. They might want like a real photo opportunity that ties in with their brand as well. So for example, it might be a taco company, want a huge giant taco that people can stand inside for a photo, that sort of thing. And just something a little bit different to everything that you see online, because it's basically like you see the same thing over and over again, the balloon garlands and stuff, and that's lovely, but it doesn't set your event apart. It doesn't make it really special and something that people want to talk about. They'll just go, oh, that was really nice. Instead of going, oh my God, I have to share this because it's so cool. And did you see that? It was insane.
yeah. I think what I've noticed anyway is the large letters.
Yes.
The large letters seem to be so popular.
They're so popular, and we've started doing those, but we have a different take on it. So we use battery powered lights because you can put them anywhere. So you don't have to put it by a plug. You don't have any trailing wires. And also they're multifunctional, so you can have them flickering or flashing or steady on, depending on your events. If you want something a little bit more exciting for your dance and stuff, it's nice to have the options, whereas most of them are just bulbs that are on and you've got to try and get them near a plug and they just don't look as good. So we like to do things a little bit differently. I would like to move away from the light up letters and do an alternative to that. So I'm thinking at the moment of doing dried flowers. So you'd be able to have like big letters, but with flowers, and then you can insert your color choice.
Yes.
So you can have just a few key choice flowers that are in your color scheme. I think that'd be a really nice updated version of the light up letters, because I feel like we've seen that over and over again. It's also really sustainable. They last for years, the dried flowers, and it still gives that luxe feeling of this is a wedding, this is a really special occasion and something luxurious.
Yeah. Well, sounds like you can design for any theme. So something like the kind of comic type heroes through to flowers. I mean, it's quite a wide range.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just love having a challenge, you know, and we're trying to, where we've got like a more generic theme, for example, like a space theme that's going to be fairly popular. We do want to look at doing rentals so that we can
Yeah.
build up a portfolio of props that people can come and hire from us.
Mm,
The dream would be to have a big warehouse where people can come and look at all the props, and it's a really exciting day out and the kids enjoy it. And also it's that sustainable element, instead of
mm.
going on that major retailer that we all use and ordering stuff from overseas
Yeah.
that is not great quality. You'd come to us and hire really good quality pieces that actually wow at an
Mm,
event, instead of
mm.
just, yeah, that looks kind of tacky because they had a really small budget and that's all they could afford, you
Mm.
know.
Yeah.
So I'd love to be able to reduce the amount of waste in the events
Mm,
industry, because it's
mm.
really bad.
Yeah. And so hiring is a cheaper option then. So if you could
Yeah,
create kind of marketplace.
absolutely. Yeah, it's a lot cheaper, and we want to be able to give like the things that people are looking for, but with a twist, you know. So you see like the sweet carts that people hire. I'd love to be able to do that, but add a unique element, like maybe your names on it or your color scheme and things. So even though it's something you're hiring, you can still personalize it to you
Yeah.
and your event.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. That's really interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
I
And so
like to think so.
the design stuff as well as the making, which is great.
Yeah, and that is my favorite bit. So my partner Sean, who is partner of the business as well, he's a graphic designer. So it works really well because I love to build the props and he loves the design and the measurements. Whereas I get a bit bored and I'm like, I just want to make things. So he's like, right, I'll measure it out because I'm good at checking things and making sure it's spot on. And then I can do all the, and it's funny because I suppose stereotypically it's like the male and female roles. I'm there with the circular saw and he's there on the computer designing stuff. But we love it. It's really nice that we each get our own part of a project and then we try and mix it up as well. So I'm teaching him how to use the power tools and stuff. So it's really nice to collaborate.
Oh, it sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you talk about collaboration. Do you or would you collaborate with other companies then, other businesses that were working on big events and things like that?
I would love to do that. And I think that's one of the things that we need to explore once we move to our bigger studio. I'd love to work with other businesses that maybe do the standard stuff, but they want to be able to give their clients really bespoke pieces, but they can't do that in their own studio or workspace.
Mm.
So yeah, I'd love to collaborate with other events, definitely. And we did a collaboration recently with a local events business. We created like a giant vinyl record
Oh yeah.
with a custom middle as well. So, and we've got that, so we can hire it out again, which is really
Mm.
exciting. So, say if it's your 50th birthday, we could design a custom middle for the vinyl record about your birthday. So even though it's a hire prop, it's personalized to you and people can take photos with it. So that's really cool.
Oh, that sounds brilliant. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you do all that sort of thing, and I've seen like the Facebook frame and the LinkedIn frame and those. So do you do all that sort of thing as well?
So I tend to tell people to go online and get it because ultimately it's going to be cheaper because
Yeah, got
they're
you.
so popular. You're probably going to get it for about £5.
Oh,
It'd be too expensive for me to make. So if people want the really popular stuff that's in again and again, I'll always direct them online and say, look, there's going to be 20 people that are selling this.
yeah.
They're really dirt cheap, so you're better off going to them. Like I'm really clear with all my clients as well. I'm never gonna say I'll make something for 50 if I know for a fact they can go online and get it for 10.
I've got you. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we have done that sort of stuff in the past, and then I realized it's just silly for us to provide something when you can get it so easily online next day delivery.
Mm, yeah.
But for the really bespoke stuff, that's what we're here for. And also, what I do like doing is if a client comes to me with, say they've got a £3 grand budget and they want 20 different props and I know I can get 5 of them online, I will do that for them. So if that is part of like a package, I'll go and get the little bits and I'll say, you know, it's £10 online, so I'll literally charge you just that. And then we'll provide the other more bespoke special pieces as well. So it really depends on what the client wants. If they want someone to just come in and sort everything out for them, happy to do that.
Yeah, yeah. So would you run an event, or would you like to collaborate with a company that would do that?
I'd probably be happier collaborating with an experienced events company. I'm happy to do what the client wants. So if they would rather pass on the responsibility to me, I would do that for them. But I'm just as happy kind of taking a back seat and saying, right, here's what we can make. We can deliver it. We can install it as part of your bigger event.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do like to offer a lot of help for like my friends that are getting married if they need assistance, and just helping them figure out what they need. And yeah.
I bet you've got a lot of friends.
Yeah. They're like, could you just like, I had some friends recently, they wanted the big giant light up letters, but they wanted like a rustic wood instead of the standard white. So I made those for them, and then they've kept them. I'm like, are you sure you want to keep them? They're just going to be in your garage. And they're like, no, we want to keep them. I was like, okay, it's up to you.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah. Oh, that's great. It's been really interesting finding out about PolyWood Studios and what you actually do.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So, okay. So, do you read? What was your last book you read?
So at the moment I'm reading The War on the West by Douglas Murray. It's tough going, I'm not gonna lie. It's basically looking at how, as a society, we're kind of looking into the past at the wrongs of the past and using it against the future, instead of saying what could we do now to make all of our lives better. Instead of focusing on what went wrong in the past, how can we make the future a lot better for everyone? And is it right that we're holding on to kind of grudges when we could all be collaborating? It's really hard to summarize that book because it's so extensive, but it's a really good read. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm trying to pick reading back up a lot more because I used to read so much and then we're so busy with work. But a lot of the time I'm just looking at my phone. I think I could actually be reading a book that's gonna help me. I read a book on negotiation recently, which was fantastic. It really actually helped. And I'd say that the number one takeaway from that was think about what else you can offer outside of money. So sometimes a deal, you can say, well, do you know what? I will give you 5 extra hours of my time for free. And okay, technically that should cost £100 or whatever it is, but actually in reality, if it's something you can do just sitting while you're watching a film, why wouldn't you offer that to your client? So it's about figuring out what is a better solution for both parties, instead of just thinking, well, I want to pay 100, but they only want to sell it for 200. And thinking outside the box. That was a great book. I can't remember who wrote it. It's like a chief FBI negotiator, but that was a great one.
Oh, lovely. Okay. And as you live in Birmingham, what's your favourite takeaway?
Oh my gosh, it's got to be a curry, hasn't it? It's got to be a curry. If you're from Brum, it's got to be a curry. But I never have. I'm moving a little bit away from meat. I'm trying to reduce my meat intake a little bit. So I'm having paneer curries now, the cheese curries, which apparently is high in protein. I'm happy with that. I love cheese, so a cheese curry is the one for me. And I never have rice.
One of those.
They're so good, honestly. Yeah.
I might try this Friday.
Yeah.
I'm out Friday, maybe a Thursday.
It's just a good excuse to have a curry, to try. I did have a vindaloo phase at one point because I love hot food.
Oh, wow.
And then I had like one that just tasted of heat. It didn't actually have any flavour. And I was like, oh, forget it. I'm not going to bother with that anymore.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. It's been really interesting to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining
Oh,
Boardroom Buddies.
thanks, Jackie.
So how do we get in touch with you?
So you can find us online, www.polywood, that's with one L, pollywoodstudios.co.uk. You can find us on all good social platforms as well, again, at PolyWood Studios. You can type into Google PolyWood Studios and we're going to come up because it's a really unusual name. That's the benefit of having like a
Really
strange name. Yeah.
Really good.
And LinkedIn as well, Rachael Wood, please do reach out on there because I love connecting with new people. I love networking as well with people and finding out why they do what they do. I love learning about people's business history and why they started. So
Oh, brilliant. Yeah. And that's why I do the podcast, because it's so
exactly.
So thanks very much. Thanks for joining Boardroom Buddies podcast this week. I hope you've really enjoyed it and hearing Rachel's story and listening to how she goes about making these oversized props and things like that. So fascinating. Thank you ever so much, Rachel, for joining us. That's brilliant. And if you've enjoyed the podcast, do share it and let me know what you think. And look forward to speaking to you soon.